Anyways, welcome to another episode of apparently I've lost count of how many episodes. We've actually done quite a few episodes, haven't
We had to take a week off in preparation for Ramadan, which we have started now. It's been what, 3, 4 days?
we? I think we're on the fifth day of fasting. I didn't fast on the first day because I was
Oh,
on my period. Because I was on my period.
yeah. Let's be open. Yeah, no more hiding it.
We've looked at the statistics of the people who listen to us, and it's mostly women, so it doesn't really matter.
And who cares if it is men? Women bleed. Get over it.
Yeah. Oh, okay, feminist. Let's talk though. We're just gonna go straight into the topic. Lathan is a disgusting person. That's my opinion. So, Lathan, do you want to talk about what happened the other day? I'm gonna go on mute so you can talk about this.
Okay,
Go.
okay, okay. Let me preface this. I don't think I'm a bad person. I just think I'm a weak person. I think that's my biggest flaw. I don't have a backbone, and you know this, Al. You know I have no backbone. You know I blow with the wind. So basically, I helped, according to yourself and my friend, I helped some baby killers. Let me give you the rundown. I was walking home. I was close to my house. Two middle-aged, I want to say, women came up to me and my sister, another sister, and asked, where this restaurant was. And she named a street quite close to my house. So I said, "There's no restaurant there. It's a residential area." And I said, "Show me where you're going and I'll help you." And she gave me a name of an Italian restaurant. And it turns out it was on the other side of the road. I said I'd walk her there. It was about a 15-minute walk. It was her and her mate. And as we were like about 7 minutes into the walk, we're asking them questions like how they're finding London, what have they been up to so far, where they're staying. And then well, maybe we were about 6 minutes away from the restaurant. I asked them, "Where are you guys from?" And they said, "Israel." And my face was smiling at that point because we're having a pleasant conversation. And I didn't want my face to drop. I didn't want to make it awkward. And I think this is my problem. I think I worry too much about making other people uncomfortable, even if they are baby killers. Well, I don't know if these were literal baby killers, but I was thinking to myself after the fact, like they looked like they were what, maybe 60, 65. They could have kids that were 25 who were probably in active service. Anyway, I continue to walk them to their restaurant, which is where you think I'm a bad person, right? Like, what should I have just ditched them on the side of the road?
Okay, I'm gonna take over now. Yeah, I do think you are I think you're a coward and a weak-willed person, and I also think you care too much about what other people think when you should just let loose and walk away. Walking away is not an act of violence. It's not like, so now it's basically like confronting them is everything then is criminalized. And the least you could have done is the easiest thing all human beings have the right to do is to walk away. You would have been a faceless person to them. You would have been another oh my God, you are an anti-Zionist Jew hater, like that kind of, like you would have been a drop in the ocean to them. And
Yeah.
like, but you would have kept, this is quite harsh for me to say this, but you would have kept your dignity at least. And I just think all it is walking away. There are
Yeah.
so many things that we're not able to do. We can't climb the fence and go into Gaza, but we also can't walk away from the people who are just for context. In 2024, I don't have the exact statistics, but I remember it was like 98% of that particular community in that particular entity. In 98%, half of them were saying that the IDF wasn't bombing Gaza enough. And the other one was saying, just like Goldilocks, it was just right. Like it was just right. So that was 2%. And I bet you, even within that 2%, it's like less than 1% who are actively against it. There might be 3 people in that country who are unequivocally against it. There's something very satanic going on over there. I don't understand. I think it would make even Serbians blush. Like, so it's just like you have to get you agreeing with me. I mean, if you anyways, all you had to do was just drop the face and walk away and actually even if, by the way, there are ways in which that you can walk away that doesn't look confrontational. You could actually walk away and almost look like you're frightened of them because they are scary people. So
Yeah.
couldn't you have just like walked away and been like, I'm scared of you, I'm walking away? Like it didn't have to be in a, oh, I'm confronting you, Red Hatter, Free Palestine. It could have actually
Yeah.
just been done in a way where you were like repelled by them. So I just think, have you learned anything from that?
I have. Okay, I think I know myself a little bit more. I've known this for a long time that I'm scared of confrontation and I'm not good with boundaries. And it's also not to mental health it, but it could be my mental health. It could be a sign of something greater. Yeah, I'm just a coward.
Yeah, I mean, no, but I do feel like we have the cowardly gene in us. Mum didn't pass it down. I don't know, like,
No, Dad was a
dad didn't do
coward.
that.
Like,
No, dad
where
actually
did
wasn't.
you get the cowardly gene?
No, it didn't come from dad either. Dad was actually a very, very brave person who knew how to stand up for dad's self. Dad, what we got from dad, I think, is also knowing when to not bother with something. I think
Yeah,
maybe that's something where you look at where you weigh your options and you decide this isn't worth it.
yeah.
Um, and
I
to
won't
be
stand up for
fair,
myself.
actually, mum might be super brave and tough at home, but mum is actually quite soft outside. So
Oh
it's
no,
one
no,
of
no!
those.
You don't know. And one of my earliest memories of mum was we had like these racist neighbors who were beating up one of our other siblings, a boy, and mum went out there with a rolling pin in mum's sleeve, and mum was about to beat up a man.
Yeah, but the rolling pin mum isn't around. Like that's not mum anymore.
I know, but she's got that dog in her. But yeah, where did we get the
Yeah, well,
cowardice from? We'll never know.
I think that there's something about us that maybe loves comfort a bit too much because I do feel like I would have walked away. I think maybe I wouldn't have screamed at them just because I don't want to give myself an own goal by having a recording of myself like going
Yeah,
viral and acting like that. But I know that I would have walked away just because it means that all of the marches that we've gone to, we were just doing aerobics. Like it
yeah,
wasn't like it means that all of that kind of is for nothing. Remember that we're dealing with people who will push your nan down the stairs if she's like got the Palestine flag on. So it's like I know that you aren't doing it. I hope that were you doing it to protect their feelings out of curiosity?
no, no, no. It was protecting my own feelings in the sense that I didn't want to be uncomfortable for a minute. That's just my nature. I don't like being uncomfortable. I don't like awkward.
You're someone who just doesn't want to ever rock the boat.
Exactly, exactly. More for my level of comfort. But I wish I was, do you know who I really admire and I wish I could embody their, just like a smidgen of their character is any of the Filton 24. I know they are like the polar opposite of me. But if I could just have an ounce of their bravery, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but they've been on remand for 15 months without trial. 15 months. Some of them have been on hunger strike for up to 73 days to improve their living conditions, and they've been finally released. Some of them are Palestinian, some of them are not. Um, but they are, yeah, 10 times the person that I could ever be.
Okay. I mean, I think that I'm wagging my finger a bit too much because I wasn't in your situation, but at the same time, I just know that I have that much repulsion and anger in me that anyways, I'm a
Disgusted.
bit of I'm not disgusted. I'm also fasting and like angry and agitated. So like, I haven't had my morning coffee yet. Anyway, speaking of Ramadan, haven't you noticed Ramadan is not just the month where the Quran was revealed, it was also the month where Christians remember that they're Christian.
I do find it adorable when right wingers come online and remember holidays that I don't remember them celebrating that much. I don't remember Lent.
I remember Ash Wednesday and I do remember Lent. I'll be honest with you, I've seen it happen before. I've seen it like it's very sporadic,
Yeah.
but Americans and Ash Wednesday is just like Catholicism is like for some people purely for the aesthetics of
Yeah.
struggling and going through something. I feel like it's quite edgy, but at the same time,
I like it. I like
I
acronyms. Yeah.
think actually there's something about it that's kind of rock and roll.
It is. Yeah. I like any kind of visual symbol of, hey, I'm in this club and you're not part of it. It's hot.
Yeah, but I think something about Gwen Stefani having it on did kind of give me the ick. Bearing in mind, Gwen Stefani is the first pop star that I ever stand, first album that I ever bought. I was obsessed with Gwen Stefani, but her Catholicism is a little bit different to like, I don't know. There's something creepy about her. She's literally posting like she's teamed up with this app called the Hallow app, and it's the kind of app that gets promoted by Candace Owens and also the Daily Wire people. I just can't believe someone who was that cool is now this person. Blake Shelton completely took any kind of cool away from her. I think he like sucked it out of her totally.
He's made her, yeah, lame. I think American Christianity is different from European Christianity. Like to have the fact that there is an app where you can buy prayers like Pokemon's, like that's what the Hallow app is, by the way. You can purchase credit prayers. It's so American, it's so capitalistic, it's so gross. Compared to European, I think Catholicism, which is a bit more subdued, a bit more edgy, I think. Um,
Not just that, but also Latin American Catholicism is like super cool. Like I just feel like they actually believe every word of it. Like we've spoken to them when we used to work with
oh
Colombian
yeah,
migrants, and they fully like hold it down.
they do.
If they didn't exist, I'm not too sure about African Christianity, but I feel like Latin, yeah, like yeah, yike. But I do feel like with
It's very
American.
political.
Yeah, but I feel like they are the only real Christians.
Yeah, because
Like,
they make it part of their real lives.
yeah, exactly. I feel like they practice Christianity the way religious Muslims practice. Also, bearing in mind, actually, no, not just Latin American Christians. Hello, Middle Eastern Christians, the ones who live in occupied territories, they practice it like it's
They
2,000
really
years
live
ago.
it. What do you think about Tucker Carlson visiting the Holy Land?
Well, he didn't end up like stepping in, right? It was him interviewing Mike Huckabee. Listen,
Mm.
I'm all for people like Tucker Carlson completely gutting Christian Zionism. Um, but my favorite thing about Mike Huckabee is he doesn't hide how much he hates American soldiers and how much he hates the American people. He literally was
Yeah.
saying the other day that Americans should pay reparations to Israel um for the genocide in Gaza, by the way. Obviously Mike Huckabee doesn't see it as a genocide, but
No.
stuff like that. He believes that the Israeli army are more moral than the US army. Now, as someone who remembers the illegal invasion of Iraq, I don't believe either of these people are moral. But if you're an
Mm-mm.
American and you're waving the MAGA flag, at least believe that your army is better. So Tucker Carlson is someone who I have mixed feelings towards. He does believe that Somalis are savage. He doesn't believe that we're human, but at the same
Mm-mm.
time, um, this is what separates us from other people when it comes to identity politics. We're able to separate our, like, I don't have to describe it. I haven't allowed my identity to replace my humanity. I always say
Mm.
this. We're willing to accept that anything that dismantles and undermines Zionism is what I'm going to work with today.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are not going to solve anti-Somali racism overnight, but there's something we're putting actual dents into the anti-Palestinian Zionism and the occupation. So I'm willing to do that, and I certainly wish that other minorities could do the same because I'm getting really
Yeah.
sick and tired of this. We could easily have been selfish people and said like, oh, as Somali people, we only care about Somalia and that we don't care about like Palestine and stuff like that. But I'm grateful that we were not born that way, that we were not raised that way, and that we weren't conditioned that way. But other demographics, you just feel like they're one tweet away from supporting the genocide.
Oh yeah.
Anything that upsets them, you just have to be 10 times worried that they're going to be pro-genocide. Then a part of me just thinks the Palestinians, how many of them have already been killed? 70% of Gaza destroyed. At this point, if you're willing to change your mind, fuck us. I can't swear. Sorry, I shouldn't be swearing, but go to hell. Like, go to hell.
For real. Speaking of go to hell, like there was a tweet by this, I'm going to talk about it, even though this is old news now, but a Somaliland academic. And it was a tweet by Umar Suleiman, the religious leader in the US. He was talking about the Somaliland president who was shaking hands with the Israeli ambassador, the now Israeli ambassador to Somaliland. And Umar Suleiman, he's a Palestinian man as well as a religious scholar, said, go to hell to the president of Somaliland. And then this Somaliland academic, who I low-key respected because she says a lot about Somali studies, letting the Somali speak. She was kind of prominent in that whole Adan studies era.
She's a grifter though. She is. I don't like using this term, but that is a perfect example of DEI. Sorry, when I look at.
So what she said was, "How dare he
say who it is though? Who cares? This is not."
Her name is Safia Aidid, Dr. Safia Aidid. So she saw that tweet and. Again, that nationalism, her Somalilander identity means more to her than her solidarity with the Palestinian people, because very cynically, she said, how can you as a religious scholar tell someone that they're going to hell? Go to hell literally doesn't mean go to hell. And he's a Palestinian man. He's rightfully angry at this leader standing side to side with someone who is genociding his people. But yeah, that's an example of someone who hasn't been able to let go of their identity in favor of their humanity.
I've let go of most of my identity, but I've also feel like we need to slowly detach from our attachment to the world. And that does kind of take us back to the beginning of the podcast, Ladan. Like we do need to, and this is advice for myself as well. We need to see, like, we know that this world is temporary.
Yeah.
So why can't we start seeing interactions with antagonistic people from that country, from Israel, as also a temporary interaction? Nothing is permanent. We're not correct. You were not going to be kidnapped, having a boot on your head for, like 4 decades for walking away from them. So I hope, like, do you feel like, what would you do, by the way, if you were in that situation again today, knowing what you know?
You mean with those old Israeli women?
Yes.
What I know now is the same thing I knew then. And I'll be honest with you, Anne, I'm the same cowardly person. What can I say? I wouldn't be able to without, I think, some serious character boot camp. I need to grow a backbone. But I will say, to your point about the temporariness of this world, I believe we're seeing the downfall of Zionism. I think it's becoming more and more acceptable to say you're an anti-Zionist. We were just talking about it the other day, that actor in
House MD.
Yeah, what's his name?
Hugh Laurie. I'm going to
Hugh Laurie.
And his tweet. Ugh. See, you could tell, by the way, the constant swallowing of saliva, anything that you can hear, is because I'm fasting. I'm so out of it.
You don't sound bad.
Fine. I know. The Daily Mail headline is, Hugh Laurie is dragged into bitter Zionism row after paying tribute to his Israeli TV producer, a friend who was found dead in house. But yeah, I've got his tweet now. But basically, Hugh Laurie, he was in a show called Tehran, produced by probably an IDF soldier, a woman who basically had taken her own life recently. The show is Tehran. It's very pro-Israel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, very anti-Iran, that kind of stuff. But it's just like propaganda. But basically, when he was paying tribute to his friend who is an Israeli, lots of people online were saying you were in her Zionist like propaganda show. And then after he blocked them, he went on a blocking spree. But now he wrote, nothing I have ever said or done could lead a sane person to believe that I am a Zionist. However, if someone exalts in the death of a friend of mine, yes, I will block them. If you wouldn't do the same in my position, you can F off too. But yeah, so what you were saying is though is that it's now becoming quite
It's
embarrassing to be a Zionist now.
exactly.
He was getting people though, like people who support Israel messaging him like publicly saying things like, "Are you sure about this? Do you know what Zionism is?" Like it's giving Jehovah's Witness at this point. It's giving cult. Um so yeah, like what are your thoughts on that?
I think that gives me a lot more strength. I remember the early days, literally October, November 2023. We were all terrified to talk about anything Palestine related outside of our house and even our social media. I was terrified that someone that I went to high school with was still lingering on my Instagram and might be screenshotting it because there were people who were losing their jobs because of private social media posts. Um, that is not the same reality that we're in now. I'm seeing, we know a mutual person that we both worked with and knew, who went from holidaying in Israel in the past to now her social media it would make Abu Obeida blush. Like she's radical. I love it.
She's the most based person in the world. So yeah, so I don't we don't want to talk about we don't want to reveal anyone's names, but she is like just
Badass.
a badass, so cool. So yeah, no, it's definitely becoming shameful, but we need more shame in the world. Speaking of shame, the absolute cowards at the International Berlin Film Festival, the Berlinale. So just for context, the Berlinale is historically always been an anti-fascist um film festival. Can you really be anti-fascist in Germany though? It's quite funny, but it's like having a feminist festival in Afghanistan. Like that's just how
There's
I see
something
it.
wrong with that country in the way they treat um, Palestinianism. It's they're so Palestinian. It is mind-boggling.
Well, they're making Palestinians suffer for what they did in the past, but anyways, there's been a bunch of press conferences. Obviously, they have these conferences at these film festivals, and Ethan Hawke, the Academy Award nominated actor, the guy from Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, Before Midnight, that series, and Boyhood and Training Day. He's a very accomplished and talented actor, but he was asked a question from a Palestinian journalist. And I'm trying to pull up the quote, but basically, long story short, the Palestinian journalist was asking him, like, have you thought about signing this letter that's been open letter that's been signed by Javier Bardem and Tilda Swinton? Basically, the open letter is judging the Berlinale Film Festival for censoring pro-Palestine speech, pro-Palestine sentiment, and those actors have signed it. So somebody must have asked him. Um, and a bunch of other people, like the jury president, Wim Wenders, was refusing to answer questions about the genocide, saying that we should stay out of politics and focus on cinema. Also, my least favorite one, we'll get into him in a second, is Neil Patrick Harris, who I think deserves the absolute worst.
Oh yeah, I hate him.
Yeah, he's just a scumbag.
What do
But
you think about Channing Tatum?
Channing Tatum is just low IQ, though. He's actually
He's very low
super
IQ
dumb.
because he.
No. But I just wanted to say the Palestinian journalist asked Ethan a question, like asking him politely, like uh asking him about a letter that's been signed by more than 80 artists, like Javier Bardem, Tilda Swinton, Adam McKay. The letter is basically criticizing the Berlinale for its silence on Gaza. So Ethan was asked a question about that, like why haven't you signed it? Ethan basically said he hadn't been aware of it. But it was when Ethan said like, something like, he said this, I quote, "I feel like there's an agenda, a slight agenda to your question that is different from my agenda, but I respect you and I respect the question." So what do you think about that? Because I think that's quite creepy. Like, how is it? If your agenda isn't against a baby killing genocide, then what the heck is your agenda?
I think. I think the problem with Ethan Hawke is the same problem I have with a lot of actors, is that they have a lot of hubris. And I think what I heard in his answer is, how dare you tell me I haven't done the right thing? How dare you force me to state a position that I haven't done so yet? Um, there is a lot of ego in Hollywood, and I think that response was basically like, "Don't tell me what to do." Like, it's kind of repulsive pushback to any accountability.
Yeah, it also is. How dare you not tell me that my performance was complex and nuanced and that I deserve to be nominated for an Academy Award? A lot of it comes from their egos and
Egos.
to be reminded. The thing that I find interesting is they're constantly telling us, actors, before this Berlinale Film Festival, they were the first ones to tell us, we are political. Our acting is about the human spirit and, fighting for the underdog and all of that stuff. But then the minute it comes to Palestine, suddenly it's apolitical. Neil Patrick Harris was asked a question about ICE, and he said that he prefers it if his art is apolitical. Bearing in mind, this is a gay man who was twerking at Tel Aviv Pride a few years ago, and
Oh yeah,
him and his greasy, oily husband they were both ignoring calls to boycott Tel Aviv back then. I can only hope. No, but it's like, what happens, Neil, when your marriage certificate isn't worth the paper that it's printed on? Like, what happens when
suddenly he's going to be political.
it'll be political then? I have my beef with that sort of, I don't know how to describe it, that sentiment of, oh my goodness, don't you know that babies in Gaza are homophobic? So that's why I have to support Israel, because killing children is like gonna keep me safe as a queer gay man. And oh my God, those newborn babies in Gaza in incubators, they are homophobic, and I do not feel safe. I feel safe in Tel Aviv. It's the only
I know who you're mocking. There's this particular so-called comedian who literally says everything you've said, by the way. Like,
yeah,
he genuinely thinks he genuinely thinks that Gaza, babies in Gaza are homophobic and deserve to die on that basis.
Who cares? Who cares? I don't give a shit. But also, it's just that kind of thing that makes you separate from humanity in a way. It makes all of us disintegrate as human beings. As human beings, we're meant to be one block, one body.
Yeah.
As an ummah, we're meant to be that. Muslims, and we're not even like that. But I look at it and I think to myself, if you have less empathy for a baby that's rotting in an incubator because you perceive that society to be homophobic, then what happens when we all lose compassion for you? Because no one has clout as a community at the end of the day. No one has protection as a community, especially under brutal AI capitalism and all of that stuff. It makes no sense to me why you wouldn't want to fight for the rights of children to live, even if it's a society that's parallel to yours, If it doesn't intersect, you'd think to yourself, I live here, but I'm going to fight for those children to not be killed. I watched a movie the other day called The President's Cake, and it's an Iraqi movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's so weird watching a film like that amidst everything that we've seen in Gaza. Really does bring it to life a lot more than it probably would have brought it to life before this genocide. But it's basically a movie set in Iraq. I think it's before the invasion of 2003, because Iraq was still being bombed before then. But the film is about Iraq post-sanctions against Iraq. Madeleine Albright was putting sanctions on the country. Iraqis were starving. They didn't have money for basic things. But anyways, this young girl, she's nominated in her school to bake a cake to celebrate Saddam Hussein's birthday. Now, Saddam Hussein, obviously brutal. He was a dictator at the end of the day.
Yeah.
When you look at it and you see people having to celebrate a leader's birthday, that kind of stuff, you just we don't want that. Why? I don't want to do that for Keir Starmer, so why would I want to do that for anyone else? But basically, the whole movie is like a caper film for her to get the ingredients to bake this cake, because apparently if she doesn't bake the cake, she will be her and her family will be punished, because that kind of stuff, like, it's not, it's not beyond the realms of reality.
Yeah.
There are spoilers in this, so if you don't want to watch it, don't listen to it.
Yeah.
It's not actually also it's not really a spoiler, it's real life. So who cares? Like
Yeah, shit happens. I mean,
this horrible stuff happens. She's basically looked after her by her grandmother. Her grandmother kind of just reminds me of every Somali like mom and auntie. Like just like Iraqis are very warm people. Like I do love them. They're like I don't know how to describe it. They if I could describe an ethnic group as a hug, I would describe Iraqis as
yeah,
like
yeah. They are such warm people. I love them.
they're really warm. But basically, the whole point of the movie is her trying to get the ingredients, bearing in mind sanctions in Iraq. So that she's dirt poor, basically. She cannot afford it. So she runs away from her grandmother, who's her primary caretaker, to get the ingredients with her little friend, the little boy like who goes to the school with her. Anyways, her grandmother, due to the stress of thinking that her granddaughter's missing, dies. And then she ends up finally getting the ingredients to make the cake. She's adopted by I think her uncle, like a really great guy. She makes the cake, brings the school to the teacher, and the teacher's like, it's kind of like he's like, this tastes fantastic, like you're a good girl, like that's it, like it's just like all of that was for basically just for that moment of you're not going to be punished by Saddam. And then you hear sirens at the end of the movie, and America bombs the school. Like that's
fucking hell.
Yeah, no, but it's just stuff like that. What I'm trying to say is, whenever you hear any LGBT defense of Israel, you look at other people's lives. You have to put yourself in the shoes of a life that we didn't even have to live when we were growing up in the UK. And then you sort of sometimes think to yourself, and it's kind of making me quite emotional. Like I'm very like genuinely saddened by it. But it just sort of makes me lose humanity for other people because it makes me think, how can you not put yourself in the shoes of someone who lives in those places? How can you not put yourself in the shoes of a child who lives in those places?
It is really sad because it's the final, I guess, outcome of what racism is. That's what racism is. It's seeing a child in Baghdad or Gaza or Mogadishu as disposable, not relevant. They could watch a live stream bombing of schools filled with children and then switch over the channel and watch the latest reality TV series, because they're not as valuable.
They're not as valuable, but what I'm trying to say is these are the first world problems. Like it's almost, there's a sick, demented perversion to it. The whole idea of pink washing is probably the most pedophilic thing I've ever heard of. I'm sorry, like it genuinely is. I'm sorry, babe. It brings out a rage in me that I normally don't get. It makes me so angry. It just the reason why I'm saying this is because it just got me thinking a lot about Neil Patrick Harris and all of those types of celebrities. You don't view children in the global south, children who are Muslim, children who are Arab, children who are Somali, children from Sudan, children who are ravaged by bombs. If you don't view them as human, then I don't have to care about you one bit. I really don't give a shit about you having the right to go to a circuit party in West Hollywood. Like, I don't care. I really don't care. So it infuriates me so much.
Thankfully, are they not a minority, the pink washers?
It should never have been on the agenda in the first place.
They shouldn't exist. They shouldn't exist.
Yeah, so it shouldn't have existed. And also, it's quite strange. Well, we could talk about this another time, but it is about, we need to dedicate a whole episode to my solidarity isn't transactional when it comes.
Yes.
It is, and it isn't. That's the weird thing, because okay, there are some people who think like that, but then when I see someone like Neil Patrick Harris, my solidarity is transactional. I will work with you, So it's
but it's personal. That's not solidarity. You're not withdrawing your support for LGBT people.
Okay,
You're withdrawing your support for him, and you want bad things to happen to him because he's a bad person. There's a difference.
I concur. I like that. Anyways, I genuinely cried. Like, I got very emotional just because I was thinking
I felt that
about that movie. The President's Cake. Just watch it. Like I said, there really isn't actually such thing as a spoiler when you're talking about the one of the biggest victims of empire ever. Death is going to happen. People die. Like it's not.
Yeah.
So it's just that mindset. But yeah, I don't know. Ramadan has got me in that kind of mood where if you don't have a vape and you don't have food, all you have are your thoughts. So I'm gonna just leave today's episode at
Yeah.
then any final words to vindicate yourself.
Vindicate myself. I'm trying to be a better person, and my goal next time is if an Israeli person asks for help, I'm gonna cross the road. How about that?